They did not scream. They did not slam the table. Still, your nervous system left the room bleeding.
That matters, because obvious violence is easy to name, while covert extraction survives behind manners, smiles, and concern.
You call it a strange conversation. Your body calls it something else entirely, a quiet seizure of power.
That is why decent people keep losing to manipulative people without fully understanding how the loss occurred.
They are not winning through truth. They are winning through timing, ambiguity, and your addiction to staying reasonable.
You bring sincerity. They bring pressure. You seek clarity. They seek leverage.
So you leave confused and depleted, while they leave subtly nourished by the exchange.
Before any strategy begins, one comforting illusion has to die inside you completely.
This was never a misunderstanding between two adults trying to reach mutual understanding in good faith.
It was a power contest, disguised as ordinary interaction and civilized conversation.
Once you see that, the atmosphere changes, and the sentimental fog finally starts lifting.
Now the first trap reveals itself with disturbing clarity.
The first psychological trap has a seductive name: the illusion of compassion.
You believe that if you understand their wounds deeply enough, they will stop creating fresh wounds in you.
That belief sounds noble, almost saintly, but inside a power struggle it becomes self-abandonment wearing perfume.
Many toxic personalities fear insignificance more than rejection, so control becomes the narcotic soothing their inner emptiness.
Your distress reassures them. Your emotional labor flatters them. Your patience keeps the machine alive. So when you explain your pain, they do not hear a plea for understanding.
They hear proof that they still have access to your nervous system.
Understand this clearly. Empathy without boundaries is not virtue when you are standing in hostile territory.
It becomes unpaid labor for someone quietly feeding on your reaction.
The mechanism is projection. You assume their conscience resembles yours, so you keep offering humane solutions.
Meanwhile, they study which tone unsettles you, which silence hooks you, which accusation makes you over-explain.
That is why moral closure almost never arrives from people optimizing every interaction for advantage.
Execution begins with a severance, a ruthless, internal severance from the fantasy of who they might become.
Stop diagnosing their childhood before protecting your mind, your sleep, your concentration, and your sense of reality.
Judge patterns, not promises. Measure repetition over time, not theatrical remorse.
In a modern office, the charming saboteur praises you privately, then questions your judgment once leadership enters.
If you mistake warmth for loyalty, you will miss the blade until it is already turning.
Real protection begins when your standards become stronger than your hope for their transformation.
Once compassion stops feeding them, they pivot to the second trap, the bait of defense.
You believe immediate self-defense will restore fairness and clear the air before damage spreads.
It will not, because manipulators rarely attack in ways that look large at first glance.
They imply, they smirk, they joke, they hint just enough to make your reaction appear excessive.
Then the room remembers your visible intensity, not the tiny needle that pierced you moments earlier.
That is the mechanism. Covert aggression hides inside plausibility, while open emotion becomes socially memorable.
So the winning move is not louder defense. It is strategic non-cooperation.
Use flat eye contact. Hold a measured pause. Let the discomfort travel back toward them.
Then offer one sentence that gives them absolutely nothing useful to manipulate or build upon.
Interesting perspective.
That is noted.
I heard you.
Then move on, as if their bait failed inspection and never earned further consideration.
Notice what disappears here: your courtroom speech, your reactive breathing, and the reward they came to collect.
Indifference is not passive in these moments. It is disciplined deprivation, administered with emotional control.
A passive-aggressive coworker wants your defense to become his evidence in front of the room.
Give him neutrality instead, and his pettiness suddenly has to stand there by itself.
If nothing lands, he must either escalate visibly or search for easier prey elsewhere.
When direct defense stops working, they move into the third trap, the harvest of information.
You overshare because honesty feels clean, and transparency feels safer than being misunderstood.
With healthy people, that instinct builds trust. With predators, it builds leverage.
Your loneliness, your debts, your plans, your heartbreak, your private fears, all of it enters their archive.
Later, those details return disguised as concern, ridicule, guilt, or perfectly timed sabotage.
The mechanism is simple. Intimacy in the wrong hands becomes a map of pressure points.
The more precisely they know your needs, the more efficiently they can bend your decisions.
So execution here requires strategic ambiguity, calm, polite, pleasant, and intentionally uninformative.
When they ask how you are doing, do not hand them your inner weather report.
Say enough to appear normal, composed, and socially intact, and nothing more.
Good. Busy. Focused. Things are moving.
Then redirect the light back onto them and let them perform for their own reflection.
Do not announce an exit while sabotage remains possible, and insecure people can still interfere.
Protect the job search, the side business, the private healing, the relationship repair, before those roots strengthen.
Privacy is not dishonesty, when secrecy becomes the wall protecting unfinished freedom.
In professional circles, the smiling gossip gathers details with warmth, then redistributes them as concerned whispers.
Become boring to the wrong people, and your value as a target collapses quickly.
When information dries up, they activate the fourth trap, the theater of contradiction.
You think direct contradiction proves strength whenever they distort reality or accuse you unfairly.
Usually it only opens the ring and invites you into a fight they rehearsed long ago.
Manipulators love resistance because resistance creates footage they can edit in real time.
The mechanism is verbal judo. Force loses balance when it meets partial agreement instead of hard collision.
Not surrender, not confession, just controlled acknowledgement without swallowing the poisoned frame.
I can see why you might think that.
Or you say, you are right, I probably visit less than you would prefer.
Listen carefully to what quietly vanished from the exchange in that single moment.
No apology, no self-betrayal,
No exhausting speech they were counting on you to provide.
They prepared for combat, but you gave them a calm surface that absorbed impact without producing drama.
Your ego will hate this method, because ego values vindication more than peace.
Maturity values preserved energy more than symbolic victories with someone devoted to misunderstanding you.
A toxic parent says you never care, hoping guilt will purchase immediate obedience.
Do not defend your record. Name the perspective, refuse the trap, and keep your center untouched.
Peace is not surrender here. Peace is refusing to bankroll another person's chaos with your life force.
If contradiction stops feeding them, they reach for the fifth trap, the myth of permanent access.
You stay endlessly available because you do not want to appear cruel, cold, or ungrateful.
But unlimited access does not create respect in exploitative people. It creates appetite.
Anything permanently reachable becomes easy to use, easy to interrupt, and easy to devalue.
That is the mechanism. Scarcity reorganizes perception faster than another emotional explanation ever could.
When your replies slow down, your presence narrows, and your schedule develops gates, the pattern breaks.
They become disoriented because they confused history with entitlement and familiarity with ownership.
Execution starts quietly. Fewer instant replies, fewer rescues, fewer appearances, fewer justifications.
Busy is enough. Unavailable is enough. That does not work for me is enough.
Low contact matters because it removes oxygen without creating an opera around your boundary.
Emotional absence matters too, especially when life still keeps someone physically near you.
Be present for facts, absent for bait, and unreachable for circular emotional trials.
In co-parenting or leadership, difficult people often disguise provocation as urgent, practical necessity.
Answer only the concrete issue, ignore the hooks, and close the channel quickly afterward.
Access to you is a privilege, not a reward owed forever by blood, guilt, or old memories.
But sometimes distance alone is not enough, and that leads to the sixth trap, the folly of half measures.
When cornered, most people retaliate halfway and mistake irritation for decisive strength.
That is dangerous, because a slight injury inflames the ego without reducing the enemy's ability to strike.
A manipulator embarrassed lightly returns colder, smarter, and more committed to revenge.
The mechanism is unfinished consequence. You signaled resistance, but failed to establish a closing cost.
So when escalation becomes necessary, stop improvising emotionally and move toward clean exposure.
Use a calm voice. Ask a direct question. Keep your face empty.
Lispua, can you explain what you meant by that?
Then add the line that corners the mask without raising your volume or surrendering your calm.
Explain why that is funny for everyone present.
Now the hidden cruelty has to survive daylight, which is exactly where it weakens.
If they retreat into kidding, repeat the question and let the room feel the silence.
Public discomfort becomes your ally, because covert predators rely on polite confusion for shelter.
And when exposure still fails to pull you back under control, they reach for the final trap, the smear.
This is where many capable people panic, because reputation can feel larger than the body itself.
Smear campaigns weaponize an ancient terror, exile, humiliation, and the fear of social death.
The mechanism is brutally simple. If they cannot control your choices, they attack your reflection.
So fortify reputation through consistency, calm, punctual, useful, grounded, and boringly stable in visible rooms.
When someone repeats their poison, say little, stay clean, and let contrast expose who lives on chaos.
Your only job is to survive long enough, remain clean enough, and stand far from the explosion.
Leave. Lock the gate. Build higher. Become unreachable to anything that once fed on you.
And when the silence settles, ask the only question left. What will you build with freedom now?